Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video we're going to be going over the Nissan 240SX S14, or the S14 S chassis in general, because we're not going to just talk about the 240SX, we're also going to talk about the 200SX and the Silvia. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The way these videos work, in case you're new here, is first I just go over basic information that you need to know about the car. Just things like how much horsepower it comes with, the trim levels, blah blah blah. Then I get into what the community tends to do with them in terms of modifying them. Then we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, which we'll go over when we get there. And then at the end of the video, I tell you whether or not I think you should buy the car, depending on the current situation that you are in. Media of the day is Prison Break. I just started watching this show, only the first episode, but I can tell you right now, I'm hooked. I'm hook, line, and stinkered, all right? Don't spoil it, please. If you've ever watched Prison Break, don't spoil it. But I'm liking it a lot. And so, well, again, I only watched one episode, but I'm excited to watch more. It's safe to say I'm excited to watch more. So maybe go give it a check if you're in the mood for a new TV show, because it's an absolute banger. Also, guys, sorry for my heater being on again today. It has been on like nonstop today because we got the worst snowstorm in human history. We have the second ice age coming right now in Connecticut. So it's been on all day just trying to heat the house up, and so I apologize for that. But without further ado, let's go right into the good, the bad, and the ugly with the Nissan 240SX S14. Like I said, first thing that we need to discuss with the S14 is just basic information, the things that you should know about the car before buying it. The years made in the generation, it was made between the years 1994 to 1998, and it is the second generation of the Nissan 240SX, but it is the sixth generation of the Nissan Silvia, or the Nissan S chassis, and it goes by the chassis code S14. Now, most people, when they think of Silvias, when they think of S chassis, they think of the S13, the S14, and the S15, but there is a lot more than that. There is four more than that, as a matter of fact. And so this is the sixth generation of the S chassis, but the second gen 240SX. Okay, I know it's a little confusing, but that's how it works. Also, it's the S14, and we all know what the S14 is. You see it on screen now. If you clicked on this video, you know what the car is. Trim levels. This car came with 3 different trim levels, only one of which, well, I mean, my bad, only 2 of which were offered in the United States of America. First off was the 240SX, which comes with a 2.4 liter inline 4, making 145 horsepower. Pretty good. Pretty decent right there. Can't complain about that. That is a KA24DE. Little bit of a disappointing motor, to say the least. Then the 200SX comes with a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4, making 200 horsepower. That is an SR20. Obviously, people love that motor, but if you guys watched my hot takes video yesterday, y'all already know what I think about that motor. And then finally, the best trim level of the S14 is, of course, the Silvia, which comes with the same 2-liter turbocharged inline 4 as the 200SX, except this time it makes 220 horsepower. The SR20 Det is a good motor. You're going to build some nice power out of it, and it's really decent horsepower from factory. These cars are obviously very lightweight, but the 240SX is definitely a little bit lackluster. The 200SX and the Silvia are pretty decent, though. As for the body styles, this car is available as a 2-door coupe only. However, I thought it would be worth mentioning that this car did have a pretty massive facelift that completely changed the front end of the car. There's the Kooky, which is a much more aggressive styling on the headlights and everything like that, and then the Zenki, which is much more calm design on the headlights and stuff. I'll probably put a picture up on screen now of the two cars so you guys can see like the differences, but the rear end and the sides of it and everything are exactly the same. It's just the front. I personally am a Kooky fan. I like the looks of the Kooky, but it's 100% up to you guys. As for the drivetrains, it is available as rear-wheel drive only, which is obviously why you see these cars are being drifted all the time. As for the transmissions, it is available with an automatic or a manual transmission. However, obviously, if you can, stick with the manual. Do not get the automatic. That would just be, it's a 90s Nissan Auto. It's not going to be great. As for the price, the car obviously ranges drastically depending on condition and depending on trim and mileage and stuff like that. But I would say the cheapest you can find an S14 in the big 2.6 is like 8K. Even like the shells, like S14 shells nowadays are even like 5 grand. So if you want like an actual running driving S14 that's going to have a lot of problems so that you're going to have to fix with insane miles and mismatched body panels, you're looking at 8K. But it could also go all the way up to something like 50K or 25K if you're looking for like a nicer condition one. It really heavily depends on, honestly, on what it is that you're trying to get. I would say on average, expect to spend around $15,000 on your S14 just to buy it, not to modify it. And then finally, as for the reliability and the gas mileage of this car, these cars are very reliable, albeit they haven't been taken care of by enthusiasts. So they were thrash cars pretty much. People just wanted to buy them and throw them around and have a bunch of fun with them for years. So expect, when you buy an S14, expect to be buying somebody else's project car with these, and they're 20 years old. Actually, my bad, 30 years old at this point, and so they are going to have a lot of problems that just come with age as well, even if the owner did take care of the car. What I'm trying to say is the car itself is reliable. When it came out, it was a reliable car, but nowadays, and 30 years later, unfortunately, there's just too many questionable scenarios there to ultimately say the car is reliable. And for the gas mileage, they get 20 miles per gallon combined, which, if I'm being honest, that's actually way less than I thought it was going to get. It's a 90s inline 4. Now, obviously, it's not like the epitome of an economy car, but let's be real here, man. We all love the S14, you know, I'm right there with y'all, but it ain't a sports car. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not, having only 20 miles per gallon in the 90s in an inline 4 Nissan as lightweight was surprisingly low, to say the least. But now let's talk about what the community tends to do with these cars when it comes to modifying them, if they drift them, rally race them, whatever it may be. As for the drifting community, this is easily this car's most popular application. The chassis is just incredible for drifting. There's no denying it. If you go to a track day and you go to a drift event, you're going to see hundreds of S14s there. They are drift cars through and through. So yes, this is its most popular application. As for the rally / off-road community, this car is not seen for those guys. It's a rear-wheel drive 90s Nissan that's low to the ground. That's obviously just not great for rally racing, so no, you will not see those there quite often. As for the street racing community, however, honestly, yes, sometimes you could see S14s being built, but it will obviously have to have an engine swap, and it won't be like as much as like a Supra or a GTR or something like that. Like, but like I said, to start with the good, and the first thing for the good is the aftermarket support is absolutely insane. Every company under the sun makes freaking S14 parts. There, you could find Duracell making S14 parts at this point. Like, every company is making S14 parts, so the aftermarket support is through the roof. Next is the chassis is truly just incredible. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of the SR20 and do think it's a little bit overrated, there's no denying the fact that the chassis that this car is built on is just great for literally pretty much anything you want to do to the car. It's just so lightweight, such perfect measurements there. Next is the fact that these cars are rear-wheel drive with a manual transmission. Now, obviously, this is all personal preference, but I think the majority of car guys are going to admit that a rear-wheel drive with a manual transmission car is probably the most fun combination you can have in the car world. It's a lot of fun, and this car has the rear-wheel drive and manual package. Next for the good is that they have surprisingly decent interior space and cargo space. You would expect these cars to be extremely small inside and everything and not have any space or whatever, but apparently the owners are saying that they're actually not as bad as you would expect them to be. Now, that's not me saying that they're still great, they're just better than you would imagine. Next is the car has really cheap aftermarket parts. At first I had it written down as cheap parts, but then I realized that's not true when it comes to OEM parts, which we'll talk about obviously when we get into like the bad. But yeah, for aftermarket parts, there's just so many companies making aftermarket parts for them, the prices are all over the place. Yes, you could find aftermarket suspension for an S14 that costs 10 grand, but you can also find the same suspension from a different company, obviously not as good as quality, for $200. You know what I mean? So it's like the aftermarket parts here are dirt cheap. Next is the car is super easy to work on. It's a 90s Nissan, dude, with a pretty decent sized engine bay as well, and only an inline 4 in there. It's just not going to be a nightmare at all to work on these things. Next is the tuning potential with the SR20. The KA24DE is definitely a little bit lackluster when it comes to tuning, but the SR20 does have some good tuning potential, especially for the weight of the car. That is the one thing I will give the SR20 credit for, is that it was put into a car that's very lightweight, so any sort of horsepower gains given to the SR20, which this motor definitely does like to gain a little bit of power, you can really feel it, so that's obviously great. Next here is this car is like just god tier for engine swaps. Like everybody swaps motors into the S14s, S13s, whatever it may be, and there's a reason for that. They just love to take it. They have a pretty decent sized engine bay, like I said before, for a car this size. Like, you could put an LS in this thing without really any major issues. Like, they just love different engines, which is good because, again, the SR20 and the KA aren't great motors. Next is the handling of this car. I mean, yeah, kind of, we talked about it earlier with the chassis being incredible, but it handles like an absolute dream. You're gonna have a ton of fun. Obviously, bone stock with this soft, squishy suspension, it probably won't be great, but just lower, like, put some coilovers on it, so now you're gonna have a blast. Next is, it's a very good investment if you know how to take care of your cars. Now, if you don't, and you're just gonna buy it and turn it into a drift car, then no, it's not a good investment, obviously. But if you're gonna buy it, take good care of it, keep it relatively stock, and just enjoy it on the weekends or whatever, you know, and take good care of the car and maybe restore it or something, then that's a really good investment. These cars are obviously going to continue to rise in price. There's no denying that. So yeah, you could definitely make money on this car if that's what you're looking for. And finally, for the good, is the clout that these cars carry. They're a JDM car, first of all, which is already immediately like has some clout to it, right? But if you're the type of guy that's looking to buy a car to build up some sort of Instagram following, TikTok following, YouTube channel, whatever it may be, then yeah, these cars are good options for you. I mean, there are tons of people out there that love S chassis, and there are tons of people that want to watch content on S chassis, myself included, probably you, since you're watching this video. They're great cars, and so yeah, you'll get the clout that you want if that's what you're looking for. But now we are into the bad, which, like I said, isn't actually bad things. It's just a middle ground area. It really depends on the type of person that's watching this video on whether or not it's a bad, or honestly could even be a good thing. It's all up to you. Just a fun play on words. And the first thing for the bad is the sound. Obviously, I say this at the beginning of the bad for every single one of my good, bad, and uglies, but obviously sound is 100% personal preference. Some people might like the sound of an inline 4. Some people might like the sound of a V8. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of inline 4s or whatever. I think the S chassis don't sound incredible, but they also don't sound horrible. But I'll give you a clip so you guys can be the judge. Next up is the looks. Same thing. It's obviously just personal preference here. To be fair, this car does have two completely different looking cars, the Kuki and the Zenki, so maybe if you don't like one, you might like the other, but me personally, I think the S14 looks beautiful, both the Kuki and the Zenki. I like the Kuki a little bit better, but the Zenki is also still a really good looking car. Also, I know like the way you're supposed to pronounce Kuki is different from Kuki. It's like cookie or something like that. Buddy, I'm just calling it Kuki. I'm sorry, dude. I don't really care that much to learn the correct pronunciation of that word. But yeah, the looks are obviously 100% personal preference. It's up to you, but I would say the majority of people will probably like the looks of S14s. They look good. Next for the bad is the price. Yeah, there's just no denying the fact that these cars aren't worth the money that they're being sold at. Like, it's not even close. 15 grand for a sub 200 horsepower 90s rear-wheel drive Nissan with an inline 4 that can't really make a lot of power or anything like that. It's just insane. But yeah, it's unfortunate. If you can afford it, great, but most people can't. Next for the bad is the OEM parts are just stupid money. We talked about this earlier when we were talking about the aftermarket parts, but yeah, if you want like to have the car relatively stock and keep all the, if you're just like a perfectionist like that and you want all the OEM parts on there, you're going to be coughing up a lot of money, man. There's just not a lot of OEM parts still left out there because everybody took them off to put the aftermarket parts on and then lost them, so or broke them or something. And so yeah, next is the KA. It's just not that great, whether it's reliability or tuning potential. This motor's not incredible in any way. The reliability is still decent or anything like that, but it's not like you're writing home to mother about the reliability of it. The KA is just a little bit of a disappointing motor, unfortunately. Next up is the cup holder size. It's a 90s Nissan, so yeah, the cup holders are not big enough to hold your Powerade bottles in, so best of luck to you on there. Next up is just expect these cars to have no AC. It's just one of those things that kind of come with age, but also the fact that like every S chassis owner just loves to rip out the AC. They're just like, yeah, you know what, we don't want AC, and they just rip it out of their car for some reason. God knows what reason, but they do it. So yeah, I've never had AC in my life. I've never had AC in any of my cars, and I don't really mind. It is what it is. But if you live in like Florida or something, that could be like unbearable. So obviously, yeah. Oh, sorry, I just like choked there or something. Next for the bad is the stock performance is just straight up miserable, plain and simple. Like, yeah, these cars are really good project cars, and if you want to build it up to do something and that it wasn't built to do in the first place, and it's great for that. But stock, there's no denying the fact that these cars are not fun stock. Like, they have such squishy suspension, only a little bit of horsepower. They're not fast. They're not gonna be a blast to drive stock. You kind of have to modify them to really appreciate an S14 to the fullest potential. And finally, for the bad is all the problems that are going to come with age: rust, seals, rubbers, interior plastics, just to name a few. Obviously, all this is endless there when it comes to potential problems with a car that's 30 years old. So just keep that in mind, man. It's not the car's fault, obviously. It's just how cars are. You could have the most reliable car of all time, but you give it 30 years, it's going to be unreliable, and that's unfortunately the S14 as well. But now we are into the ugly. So, like I said, things in the ugly tier are genuine problems with the car. Like, you're going to have to address these at one point during ownership. First off, for the ugly is the power steering system tends to leak very often. This could just be due to age, to be fair, but at the same time, it's not fun. That's a headache. And if you don't have power steering, it's not the end of the world. Don't get me wrong. I've driven cars without power steering, and it is what it is. But I mean, if you're planning on driving it like a daily or something, you're probably going to want power steering. So all I'm saying is that the power steering system leaking is not fun. It's not a fun fix. It's not a cheap fix. It's not easy fix. Yeah, and it is something that needs to be fixed. And finally, for the ugly, is the automatic transmission is just horrible. Whether it's fun, performance, reliability, doesn't matter. Just buy the manual. The manual is more reliable, the manual is significantly more fun, and it's significantly faster. It's just overall the significantly better transmission. The automatic transmission in these cars are worthless. Now, to be fair, if you do buy an auto, you could always swap it to manual if you believe you're up for that task, but it's not as easy as you might think it is. So my final thoughts, though. Do I think that you should buy a 240SX S14 or 200SX X14 or a Silvia S14 based on the current situation that you are in? If you're a daily driver guy looking for something that just gets you from point A to point B, you couldn't care less about how cool your car is, how fun your car is, you just want something to do it reliably. No, not a chance in hell. They can do it if they are in perfect condition. I'm not saying they can't and bone stock, but that would just cost significantly more money than just a Camry or a Civic and be risky for no reason and be an overall worse car for you. Like, having front wheel drive is just going to be better. This car's gas mileage isn't incredible. It's an absolute risk. The interior is not going to be as good as, like, if you buy, again, you're going to buy an S14 for like 10 grand. If you spend 10 grand on a Civic, you're buying a 9th gen Civic. The interior is much better. It has much better creature comforts. It's significantly more reliable. It's just overall, no, not a chance in hell do I think that you should buy an S14 if you're just looking for a daily driver. As for the car guys looking for a daily driver, though, because we buy a little bit more fun cars, again, no, this is just going to be a headache with all the problems. And even though they're easy to work on, that doesn't mean you want to work on them every single week, and you're going to have to. These are best as a project car. They're just 30 years old at this point, and again, it's not me saying that they're unreliable. Back in the 90s, they absolutely were incredible car guy daily drivers, but nowadays, I don't think so. As for the Sunday cruiser folks, the guys that just want to take it out once a week, take good pictures with it, take good care of it, baby the car, right? I mean, kinda nowadays, since so many have been modified. Like, if you buy a stock one that's in relatively decent condition with lower miles, yeah, it makes sense. But I fear that you may get bored fast. Like, I think that's the biggest problem with these cars, is like, most Sunday cruisers are like Porsche 911s, Camaros with high horsepower numbers, and they're kind of like a handful to drive, but they're a lot of fun and rewarding. The S14 really isn't that car. It's only really rewarding when you truly push it to its absolute limits, and that is when you build it into a race car, which gives me into my next one, the race car / project car, folks. If you're somebody looking to build up a race car, looking to build up a project car, and looking for a chassis to do it on, then I think that this chassis is truly just incredible at anything you want to do to it, my bad. And once you buy the car, it's easy and cheap to build afterwards, as long as you don't mind putting aftermarket parts on instead of OEM. Just don't be let down by the KA. I warned you that the KA and the SR20 might not be as impactful as you may think due to the internet. I really truly think that the internet just overrates the SR20's performance potential. Like, they're always like, oh my god, it's one of the best legendary JDM motors of all time. Then you look up like, hey, how much power can an SR20 handle before you have to build the motor? 350. It's like, what? Wait, what? How is that the best motor of all time? That's just not great. So just don't be disappointed with that. But if you are looking for a race car or a project car, and you got the money, then I think an S14 is an incredible option. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video on the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Nissan 240SX or Silvia or 200SX, whatever you want to call it, S14. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what reviews I'd see in the comment section down below. Check the links in the description for any of my other social medias or any of my other YouTube channels or any of that great mumbo jumbo. And as always, let me know what other cars you'd like to see me do good, bad, uglies on, because that's how I do the good, bad, uglies, is off of recommendations. So if anybody has any recommendations, what they would like to see me do a video on for the good, bad, ugly, comments are open. Comments are always public. So yeah, go down there and give me a hooting and hollering. Alright guys, I'll see you there. Alright guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, before I go though, I'm gonna watch some more Prison Break tonight. I'll get back to you guys on how much I'm liking that show. Don't get me wrong, but guess what is such an underrated meal? You're gonna call me like a big fat idiot redneck that's like slobbery because it's like the stigma behind this meal, but I don't care. Chili, cheese, hot dogs, mother trucker. I'm sick and tired. Everybody's like some elitists. They can't enjoy chili cheese hot dogs anymore. I had some last night. Oh, like, I was flabbergasted. I mean, I've obviously had them before in my life, but the chili cheese dogs are always one of those meals where it's like, it always blows me away. Every time I eat it, I'm always like, wow, I forgot how good these are. And that's exactly what happened last night. Go get, if you got chili, if you got hot dogs, if you got cheese, and if you got hot dog rolls, go make yourself some chili cheese dogs. Thank me later. They're absolutely incredible. And while you're eating the chili cheese dogs, watch the TV show Prison Break. What a night. Oh my god, I just gave you guys the best Monday night. Oh. You can thank me later, pal. You can thank me later. You can thank me actually with a subscribe button. Hey! Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Badadia, and have a nice night.